Hi, I'm Katie Kramer, President and CEO of the Boettcher Foundation. Welcome to Colorado Leadership Stories, where we talk to everyday, courageous leaders who have made transformational impacts in their communities and are building a better state for everyone. You'll hear from leaders and organizations and communities throughout the state as we explore the idea that leadership is an activity that anyone can do. Today on Colorado Leadership Stories, we're joined by Wes Allison, President and CEO of the National Western Stock Show and Complex. Raised in West Texas with a deep 4-H and rodeo roots, Wes brings decades of livestock leadership from his home state, where he helped grow the Rodeo, Texas Fair and Rodeo into a year-round hub. He now steers Denver's iconic event into its 120th year and helps guide the National Western Center into its next chapter. The Boettcher Foundation is a proud longtime partner at the National Western Center, with almost $1 million invested across the site in planning, capital projects, including the new facilities like the Legacy Building, the Sue Anschutz Rogers Livestock Center, and the planned Equestrian Center and Hotel. We are just so excited to be involved in the area. And Wes, we are thrilled about what you and your team are doing to get ready for the 2026 National Western Stock Show that starts in just a couple weeks here, January 10th through the 25th. Welcome, Wes, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Katie. I'm so excited to be here, and thanks for the partnership. It's so important to us that we can partner with great foundations like the Boettcher Foundation and just make an impact in our community, right? That's what we're doing.
That's right. Well, we do love our stock show, and as a Colorado kid myself, just remembering growing up in elementary school and going there every year on a field trip. And now, you know, as an adult, taking my own children, and it's just such a part of our culture here. And it is a Super Bowl of livestock shows. I know that it is known as that. And we are thrilled that you are here in our community, Wes. So a hearty welcome on behalf of myself and the Boettcher Foundation and all of us, because with your background and experience, we're just so excited what you're going to do in this new role and to come at this year when you're opening so many things. So I really want to dive in and hear about your leadership story, but also really focus on what we can expect this year.
Yeah, well, you know, from my seat, it's an honor to be here. And so, you know, the connection I have with National Western Stock Show is started when I was a little kid. Growing up, right? Yeah. My dad was a county agent, so he had 4-H kids right in the panhandle of Texas, and you know, we were closer to Denver than we were to Austin. And so as an Aggie, that doesn't hurt my feelings either, right? But, yeah, so I came here as a kiddo, had an opportunity to show here as well. And so there's a full circle back to being on this side, to being able to, you know, be at the helm of, you know, what is really one of the 4 greatest institutions in the stock show world and industry right here in Denver, Colorado.
Well, it feels like your upbringing completely prepared you to be in this leadership role at this time. So let's go back. Let's talk about that origin story in West Texas, right? Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, Stratford, the big city, right? The metropolis, 13 miles from the Oklahoma line, and like I said, closer to Denver than we were to Austin, as well as 4 other state capitals for that matter. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we were... It was a great upbringing because there were, you know, 200,000 cattle in the county and 1,200 people to take care of them. So, but really, I did. It was a great way to grow up in agriculture. You know, had that opportunity as a kid to participate in 4-H and FFA, and you know, had an opportunity when I was a senior to serve as the state 4-H president for the state of Texas.
That's big.
Yeah, so it was fun.
It's a big state.
It was a big state for sure. Yeah, you know, 599 miles from my house to my apartment in College Station when I left to go to college.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a big place.
That's awesome. Well, let's pick up the story there then. So you go to Texas A&M and study agricultural economics, and then you went right then to Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, right?
Well, actually, I wanted to be a cowboy first.
Is that right?
So I went to Coleman, Texas, out by Abilene, and decided that I needed to just ride horses and talk to them. And so I had the opportunity to be on about a 600 cow calf operation out there. And my wife is an ag teacher by education, and so she comes from East Texas, I come from West Texas, the Panhandle, and so we met at school and ultimately bring a very similar background of growing up very similarly, and ultimately it was fun for us to go out there and be in West Texas and, me just ride good horses every day and be 15 miles from town, and my wife wanted to teach ag. And in the early 90s, they weren't going to hire a female to teach ag in West Texas. So we moved to her hometown in Huntsville, and which was great because it gave me an opportunity really to say, I want to do more, and I want to be able to give back to agriculture in the way that it had given to me. And so I got into extension and had an opportunity to serve as a county extension agent, work with the 4-H program and agricultural producers. And then really, as everything happens, right, somebody knows somebody. And I had a professor from A&M call and say, hey, are you interested in going to the Houston Livestock Show? And he said, because I'd love to put a good word for you. And so, that's kind of my journey. And so we moved from the north rim of the Paladura Canyon, where maybe the traffic jam happened if there was a cow standing in the middle of the road, to Houston, Texas.
Wow, which is a big metropolis.
It was a culture shock for a small town kid for sure. But and so had an opportunity to lead just the livestock component of the Houston Livestock Show and really grow it. And then that was actually at a time when the Houston Livestock Show was moving into new facilities. And so kind of like we are here at National Western, moving into new facilities and being able to kind of lead that, change and all of those kind of things through that process. And then, ended up a few years into that with an opportunity to go to Waco and that facility in Waco, which again was going through an opportunity to grow buildings and to really grow their infrastructure and do those kind of things. And for me, Waco holds a special place as well because I'd grown up showing horses there as a kid. And so it was kind of like, hey, you can go here. And for us, it was about trying to figure out a way to raise our girls in a rural community. And that was just something I'd grown up, how my wife had grown up, and so that opportunity presented itself. We never believed we'd be 23 years in Waco, Texas. But it really was a place where we could just expand the opportunities, expand the impact of that organization, expand our volunteer base, all of those kind of things. So it was a great place to raise our kids, and then the opportunity came to come to Denver. And my wife's been around this industry. She's a school administrator now and transitioned out of teaching ag to being a principal in a middle school, which I don't even know how you describe that leadership for that, right? That's a crazy place to be a principal.
That is the Wild West, yes.
Yes, that is exactly the Wild West. And so I got an email one day, said that from the headhunting firm saying that they were looking to replace Paul Andrews, and I was like, you can't replace Paul Andrews.
No
That's
one can.
Impossible. But so took a screenshot of it while my wife's in school, sent it to her and said, hey, you want to move to Denver? And she was like, what are you talking about? And so I was like, wait, we'll read it when you get home. And so we did. We get home that evening. I was like, hey, did you read that text? And she's like, no, what is it? I said, go read the text. And she's like Denver, like the National Western? I was like, yes, like Denver, the National Western. She's like, so what are you going to do? I was like, are you moving to Denver? And she's like, heck yeah, let's go. And so here we are. I was, again, very blessed to be able to end up, with an opportunity to interview and, fooled them enough to let me sit in the seat. So.
Oh, well, we're just thrilled you're here. And again, it does feel like everything that you've done has prepared you for this moment at the National Western at this time. And I think as we're transitioning into talking about that, when you reflect back at your time in Waco, I think the opportunity to see beyond this once a year event, which is truly impactful for the economy and in our culture and everything, but to take something to be a year-round venue that you're doing all these things beside what happens, the exhibitions and that, but a place for agricultural education and multi-events and that type of things. So maybe talk a bit about what that was like in Waco and how do you see that translating here into the opportunity we have in Denver?
Yeah, when you're given new assets, I think as a leader of an organization, you have to figure out how to engage those and how to make them impactful. And ultimately, that's what we did in Waco, is really looking at, what's the next step for our organization. We talked a lot about how are we now a new organization, right? That organization When I went was 50 plus years old. This one's 119 plus years old, or will be in January. But it's still the same principles of making sure that we're pushing the organization to see where that impact is, to be able to do things differently. And so I think as we look at where we can be impactful, the neat deal of here is when the gathering happened, I guess I'm going to call it, in 2014. In fact, so we have a commemorative tie and a commemorative wild rag this year for the 2026 show, and it's actually some guys sitting on horseback, and they're fixing to go gather a pasture, so it's called the Gathering. Mm-hmm. Well, if you think back to 2014, when a group of leaders came together, led by the mayor at that time, and all of those kind of things about, hey, we're not going to let Stock Show leave Denver. It's not going to go out east of town. And so what do we do? How do we do this? The partnership between the city and county of Denver, CSU, and the Stock Show is huge. Like there is no other place in the world that I'm aware of that actually has this kind of partnership. Well, that's vision, in my opinion. And so now we've got the infrastructure started. We're building it. Of course, the Livestock Center's online. The Legacy Building's online. We'll start working on the Equestrian Center after that. That vision in Waco of saying, where are we going to go, is the same thing we have to apply here, right? It's that same way of pushing us to be different and pushing us for ways to try to be more impactful. 349 days, not just the 16 that we do. Because you're right, that 16-day impact is huge, right? 33 countries, 50 states, $180 million in economic impact. So how do we do that the rest of the year? That's the questions I have to answer.
Well, Wes, we are just so excited that the Stock Show is just right around the corner, and this episode will actually air during the show. And I'm just thinking about looking out our window here. We're recording at the Boettcher Foundation office out on 17th Street, where very soon the Stock Show parade will go down with all those Longhorns headed down towards the Brown Palace. And it's just one of the best days of the year for all of us. But when you think about this year, Wes, what can people expect that's different in this year's show?
Well, it'll be in a different place, right? It won't be in a different place, but new buildings, right? New opportunities. I think the interesting thing for us is that we get to use new assets to impact our mission. And I think when you talk about the expo hall, right, where you've always been, you had third floor was always the educational floor, then you had the vendors on second floor, and then, the barns, we're calling it the gardens this year, is where all the cattle were, all the livestock was, all the hogs, all the sheep, all the goats, all those kind of things. Well, the neat thing is we get to expand the barns this year, take everything we had on third floor, move it to the first floor, the barns level, the garden level, and create the world's largest petting zoo, as far as we know, create these awesome. These educational components that talk about where your food comes from, where your clothes come from, all those kind of things. So I think from that standpoint, it's going to be a whole new experience for those of you that come every year. I love the stories about you, and you shared a minute ago about, we go every year. My kids go all, we took my kids. I grew up here. I did this. It's like every family has that one day that they always have gone to Stock Show, right? And it's generations have gone to Stock Show. And so when you come this year, you're going to get to experience even those facilities differently. And then when you come down to the Legacy, our new world headquarters,
tell us about that.
It is so cool. Like I had about a month ago, we had an opportunity to host the World Hereford Congress. It was in Fort Collins. It came here and spent a little time over at the CSU Spur buildings, and then they wanted to do a tour. And so it was amazing how many of those folks that have been here for years and years, again, generations and generations, were like, this is not a Stock Show building. This is so nice. Like they don't expect it, but with the Wilson Art Gallery on the first floor, our entire Coors Art collection, our Western art collection now has a home that is museum quality, right? We have the World Heritage Center, a place where we can talk about the heritage and history of farming and ranching in Colorado. It now has the heritage and history of us for 120 years in there that everybody will get to experience. Go to the fourth floor. See the new National Western Club. The OG one was a special place, right?
Yeah.
It is not anything like this one. It is so beautiful, and it gives you that great feel of Colorado Mountain Lodge with the Western motif. There's 8 bars in this building. So if you have a problem finding a Coors beer, let me help you, because there's one close to you. But I think that they're all themed.
Right.
There's brands of Colorado on one. There's saddles of historic rodeo stuff on another one. There's the yards. In every place you can find a piece of our history and our heritage and our tradition, that anchor that we are, right? Mm-hmm. We get to deliver it in a brand new, innovative way. That's the fun part of, the CoBank Arena and the livestock being shown now on turf completely, right? We're not showing on dirt. So our cattle will show on turf, which is just those new innovative ways in the stock show world that we are trying to make less impact on the environment, right? Keep things cleaner, make it better for both the humans and the animals. That building rotates the air 6 times an hour.
Wow.
Like no more stock show crud for those of us that grew up in the livestock world, right?
Yep.
We should be able to take care of things like that. And so those opportunities to really be on the cutting edge of what we're doing at Stock Show is in being able to just enjoy all of that new space. CSU will be inside the fence this year. They'll be a part of Stock Show. Our friends that are redeveloping the Stockyard Exchange building will be inside the Stock Show this year, and so you'll get to do tours of that building. So it's just a new experience for all of us. Mm-hmm. Me especially, because it's my first rodeo, but it will be a great thing for those who have been here a number of years, and so we're excited about just bringing it. And I tell one of my things that I've always said is that, and I said this to the board the other day, is if I ever get on the air or on a podcast like this and say, well, it's the same old stock show, come out and enjoy it, then I should be fired that day because it's not my job. My job is to entertain and educate and to make sure that we are continuing to create an opportunity for you to come multiple times beyond the tradition that your family may come, the second Wednesday of Stock Show to go to rodeo. So,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And so much to look forward to. And so you have to go, absolutely get out there and see it. And so, Wes, I wonder, when you think about your own background, the experience that you've had that have led you to Denver to this time, what are some of those skills that you've had, these or behaviors or skills, things that you have done that you feel like have made you as successful as a leader?
Yeah, so I had 2 great examples. My parents, right? Both strong in the leadership in our community, and really for them, they instilled in me a strong work ethic, and so every day, rain, snow, sunshine, whatever it was, we were out there working with animals. That's where the 4-H and FFA programs, I think, are so strong in building young leaders, and that responsibility for another living being is a very important thing as well. And so from my seat, I guess early on I was given the opportunity to talk, and that's a big deal for what I do. It's about telling a story. I think that's something that's very important in what I do, is telling the story of the impact of, like I'll use Waco as an example. Like when we went to Waco, we gave away about $10,000 a year in scholarships. In May of this past year, they gave $550,000 away.
Wow.
So it's really about, let's set a goal. Let's work to that, but then let's tell the story, because that's how we get folks in partnerships with the Boettcher Foundation, right? We have to tell the story. And so I think that ability to just really connect what we do and our mission, as we did there in Waco, and continue to look for ways to grow things. Those things have served me well in my career. And, if you don't, we in the Western world, in the Western lifestyle, we're not boastful. We don't brag about things. We're very humble, and that's the way I work every day. And that's something that I think is important for my staff, is that when we carried the pin out on the Denver Broncos field to do mutton busting yesterday,
I was there.
Yeah, were you? Cool. It's like, okay, Wes, what are you just gonna? I was like, no, I'm gonna carry the pin with you. I have to be a part of this, right? I'm gonna hold the sheep. I'm gonna pick the kid up. Whatever you need me to do. That leadership by doing, not by saying, is really important, and that's really what has served me the best, is that you need a stall cleaned, you need somebody to stand in front of the camera, and you need to deal with a customer that's unhappy with their experience, then let me jump in there and do that. So, that's what has been a part of my life, and ultimately my parents said, leave something better than you found it. And so I believe that I do that and try to do that every day.
Oh, clearly. And I think that that's one thing that some people don't realize about the role of the stock show, or, of the educational aspects. And clearly that mentorship and youth development aspect was part of your life. But it's a great opportunity, and it happens there all the time. So as you've been talking about youth development and mentorship, and what a big influence that was in your life, and also through your professional endeavors have had a chance to do that. And I think one of the things that's really remarkable about our National Western Stock Show is that opportunity for youth here locally, but also across the region. And Boettcher's long been a sponsor of the Catch a Calf program and the Heifer Wrangle program over there. And so could you just share a little bit about how that youth development and sort of preparing the future agriculture leaders, about how that comes into play at the show?
Yeah, I think we're in a unique place, right? When you talk about the Catch a Calf program, especially because a lot of those kids that participate in Catch a Calf, that's their first project, right? That's their first FFA project. This is their first 4-H project. And so ultimately, it is just the vehicle we use to teach the life skills, the responsibility, the leadership, the ability to communicate, the ability to say thank you, which is a big deal and something that we don't teach enough sometimes in our society today. But I think ultimately where we can give that opportunity to that youngster in order to let them grow and just blossom into the person that they're already waiting to be, right? We're just going to give you the way to do it. And I think that for us, Catch a Calf, the Heifer Wrangler programs, our scholarship programs that impact so many college-age students, right? Even, through our Denver scholarship program and those kind of things. And, we're investing in that. And that investment for this, for 26 is kind of this 120th year kickoff is to do a Supreme Junior Heifer Drive. So we are going to feature the females of the cow world, and we're going to take those kids and give them an opportunity to come into Rodeo where we can showcase agriculture, tell that story about agriculture, but then also tell about how these kids are using these skills in genetics and innovative breeding and how to raise this animal, proper nutrition, and all of those kind of things that ultimately what I want to make sure we do is that we're not just impacting the rural kids, or we're taking a rural kid and giving them an opportunity to go get an education and become a doctor or become a lawyer or become a politician, because we need those folks to support agriculture, right? I think that's where a lot of times they're like, oh, we're just cows, plows, and sows, right? Well, we're not. We're so much more than that. And if we can give that student an opportunity, whether they come back and ever volunteer at the National Western or not, but wherever they land in the world, that they know Stock Show helped them, then ultimately, if they'll give back just a little bit in whatever community they're into agriculture, or to tell that person in the supermarket that says, where does milk come from, right? It's
right.
Not the supermarket, it's the cow. But, right, and it's not, I saw one the other day that was talking about vegan milk, and it was strawberry milk. Because it came from a strawberry plant. And I'm like, yeah, that's not where strawberry milk comes from, right? But anyway, I digress. It's just an opportunity to tell that story. And for them to talk about agriculture from a place of, it doesn't matter what you eat. And I'm not here to tell you what to put on your plate. It's all agriculture, right? It's all produced by somebody in a rural setting, whether they're growing the wheat or in a community garden, right, where they're helping their local folks have an opportunity to have fresh vegetables. So, yeah, I think that's our job. And if we can create every opportunity for a young person to do that and experience that, whether you're 5 years old or 18 years old, we want to give you that opportunity.
Well, awesome. Well, final question before we go into our lightning round.
Oh.
And I just would share that every year at the Boettcher Foundation, we have a theme. And it feels like for 2026, our theme really fits with the theme of National Western. And that is, it's the power of place. And of course, it's Colorado's 150th and the United States 250. So the sense of Colorado as the place, or what happens that creates powerful things within a place. And really, the National Western Complex has been the heartbeat of ag for, I think, our state, even though it happens everywhere else in the state besides Denver. But When you think about the power of place and your leadership at looking forward, not just beyond this year's show, but what are your hopes and dreams for that place and space and the power it can create in our community?
Yeah, so as we start toward, open our 120th anniversary, right? I think that that hope and that place where we are is that we never forget our traditions, right? It's so important that we are the place where you can experience the Western spirit. It's the place where you can come and define the West for you, right? You don't have to wear a hat like me to be a part of the West, and ultimately, as we take care of those traditions and we make sure that we are good stewards of that, I think we have to deliver a message that agriculture is part of our lives every day. And we have to show folks that. And if we don't tell the story, then nobody's going to know it. And so how do we tell that story? It's on your cell phone, right? It's on a QR code. It's delivered differently than we did 119 years ago, right? And so I think those are the things that we have to concentrate on, is just, holding on to that anchor that is our tradition, but delivering that message in a different way.
Oh, love that. Love that. All right. Well, you have survived, and we are now in the lightning round. And that is, so this is fun, asking someone that's rather newer to our community, even though you've been here a number of times over the years. But do you have a favorite Colorado hobby?
A favorite Colorado hobby would be skiing.
Okay, good.
So, as a family, we come, about every other year. It's either we come here and then go to New Mexico the off year, so that's kind of where we go. So,
love that. Love that. Okay. Do you have a favorite Colorado landmark?
A favorite Colorado landmark would have to be the stock show, right?
Of course.
Of course, that's where that is.
I would expect nothing less in that answer. Okay, how about this one? What action hero do you most identify with?
So I'm going to say Captain America.
I love that.
Yeah, but just because, he's the one that defends everything that we are about in this country, and those things that we have the ability to welcome anybody, but yet we're going to defend you and what your beliefs are because you have that opportunity to do that. So that's how I see Captain America.
That's great. That's great. Okay. And finally, what are you currently binging? Is there a show or a book, a podcast that maybe you're enjoying, you and Jennifer are enjoying, or...
Landman.
Me too.
Right? I mean, that's the one. Right? It's just, we're just waiting on it. So it's funny growing up in Texas, right? And so Yellowstone, for me, and having been in this industry and having deep roots in the equestrian industry as well, it's a little bit hard for me to watch Yellowstone, right? So again, oil business in Texas is big, right? Yeah. And I have my family, I have a lot of family in the Midland, Odessa area, and so, but I don't know about it. So for me, Landman was that connection of, okay, I believe that. I believe it happens that way, right? I believe that the drug dealers steal the plane and land it on a dirt road out in a field. So, it's Landman. Yep. Yeah. Can't wait every week.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's a shared one for us too. So, and I bet there's people nodding their heads as they're listening to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wes, it's been a joy to visit with you, and I can't wait to see you in a couple weeks at Stock Show. So thank you, and welcome to the community.
Thanks, Katie. I appreciate it.